would like to order Gabriel Hayon, my colleague, to this ambassador panel. Thank you that you come to welcome here to these ambassador panels. גבריאל, אולי תקריא את השמות שלהם?
Okay, good noon, I think we can say to all of you. I would like please to welcome the following diplomats and ambassadors to the panel. We have the ambassador of Finland, Kirsikka Lehto, the ambassador of Sweden, Erik Ullenhag. From Spain, instead of the ambassador Anna Solomon, we're going to have the deputy chief of mission Anton Mian. From Malta, ambassador Cecilia Attard Pirotta. The Vietnamese ambassador Mr. Trung is here and is in the stage. We're going to have the deputy chief of mission Tri Vuduk. Ambassador Jorge Carvajal of Chile, Ambassador Jean-Luc Baudson from Belgium, Ambassador Weiko Kala from Estonia, Ambassador Waleric from South Sudan, and from Israel, the Israeli Special Envoy for Energy, Mrs. Samuel Ravel. Beside them, we have here in the audience today also several other distinguished diplomats, such as Mr. Fernando Alo, the Deputy Chief of Mission and now Ambassador from Paraguay, Ms. Maja Segota from Slovenia, Arunas Karlonas from Lithuania, Agatha Afokaleo from Nigeria, Kolchu Meding from South Sudan, as well as the honorary consuls of Kyrgyzstan and Costa Rica. Hope that I didn't miss anyone. So thank you very much, dear ladies and gentlemen, for your kind participation here today in this event. I would like please to present you Mr. Arnon Maoz, the founder of the Tashtiot Group, to start with his remarks.
Good afternoon, and thank you that you're coming again to our event. This time we're trying to be on schedule. Schedule in Israel is not something that we are really good at it as Europe. Our group is a media group of investigation and seen the future as to be that every one of you is actually ambassador of the climate change. We see above the conscious coming on, flourishing around to talking about energy and talking about environment, talking about sustainability. This conference talking about 2050. I don't know where I'm going to be in 2050. Do you know? No, I hope in a good position. But we have to plan the future for our children to bring here a new venture of life. And we believe that technology and ideology and foundation, it's going once and it's one ideology, because you couldn't create in a financial reality any ideology without to find the way to achieve that. Israel, people, they're good in ideas. They can achieve it in other countries. But in our countries, you can see, we are only 10% of renewable energy. Yeah? Only 10% country at the moment. But there's a lot of amazing young guys here, a lot of new ideas, a lot of new startups. And this event was focusing to create this collaboration with your country. What is your demand? And to bring these young people from here, exporting the knowledge to your country, and to bring future to the next generations. And we have to find the three, let's say, the three holy points: ideology, financial, and in the end, when you connect it to technology, you find evolution. I'm not talking about a revolution, I'm talking about evolution. Because what our father nations done the last 50 years, the Industrial Revolution, they didn't really see above what is the coil doing to the air and what to see above all this industry. And we need to fix it. And I believe that the collaboration. I've been in the COP last year on Egypt, and there was a lot of talking, a lot of talking. I was really talking about what? About how we can achieve this goal. So I'm really wants to hear from you on this stage, and that's the reason we make this event. And I want to really thanks to Gabriel Hayon, which is amazing guy I work with, is inspiring me. I always tell them, when I will be big, I want to be like him. So I got this is my model about people, about to create environment of people and connect people to achievement. So thank you to coming here, and we are very, very, very honorable that you're here with us. And we see you as climate ambassadors. So welcome to the conference, and I hope to see you in the next events in our group with this cooperation with Gabriel, and see and ask what is your demand. And I think there's a lot of young startups in Israel to wait in for address in your country. Thank you very much. I would like to thanks to Solaer company, which is the sponsorship of this panel, and they are a major Israeli company, a major example of investing in countries like Chile, Spain, Italy, etc., etc., etc. So I will give to Ron to see this PowerPoint.
Before the presentation of the Solaer company, please allow me to present you Mr. Samuel Ravel, the Israeli Special Envoy for Energy from the Economic Division of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Samuel, please.
Yes, good morning. Ambassadors, colleagues, dear friends. Of course, Gabi Hayon and Arnon Maoz, thank you very much for organizing and participating in today's event. It is definitely very opportune because we are today facing a huge challenge on energy, on climate. We are facing a huge challenge on energy and climate, both because of the geopolitical situation, of course, the war between Russia and Ukraine, the Russian invasion into Ukraine. Also events in our region influence very much energy. For example, Iran's involvement and the support of extremism and terrorism in our region is a very important destabilizing factor. And the climate crisis, which is a huge challenge for all of us. Israel, and I mean, the former panel was in Hebrew, but I'm happy to see here my good friend Gideon Friedman, the chief scientist of the Ministry of Energy, was speaking about trying to find solutions. You know, in recent years, Israel was always a land of milk and honey, but maybe in the recent few years, due to also the finding of natural gas, but definitely also because of the developments in the Israeli internal innovation sector, Israel also became the country of trying to find energy solutions and climate solutions. So this is something very important to us. But we do understand that, and I think all of us understand, that no one country can do it alone. The most important factor here is cooperation, is working together. That's why I believe that this is an issue not only for technicians or for experts on energy. It is first and foremost today duty of every ambassador, of every diplomat, to work on finding energy solutions and to work on climate solutions. This is our goal. This is our main challenge for the coming new years, but it's also a very big opportunity. Coming from Israel, this is presenting us an opportunity to cooperate with our neighbors, with Egypt, with Jordan, also with the Palestinian Authority. This is creating an opportunity to cooperate with the Abraham Accords countries, starting from the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and we have established forums such as the Negev Forum in which we can work together on clean energy. And it's also a good opportunity to upgrade our relationship with the European Union, with European partners, and for partners from the United States, from South America, from Asia, from Africa. definitely, and this is why I think this panel is so important, bringing us all together to discuss these issues is extremely important. So thank you again, and I wish us a very good and fruitful discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Samuel, for your kind words. The next presentation is of our sponsor, the company Solaer, which, as Arnon mentioned, is present especially in Spain, Chile, Italy, and other countries. Please.
Thank you very much. Esteemed ambassadors and guests, it's my honor to introduce Solaer Renewable Energies. My name is Ron Ben Chaim, and this is a very fitting panel for us as it reflects our own very international nature as a company. For the past 15 years, since the very beginning of the renewable energy industry here in Israel, we've had a clear vision in doing our part to reduce CO2 emissions and realize a cleaner future for our children. And to that extent, we've been developing, initiating, building, operating renewable energy projects. And though we have been traded on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange since 2021, we are really a startup, a 15-year-old startup, but a startup nonetheless. And we have been growing our capacity exponentially every year. And today, with our around 3 gigawatt pipeline, we have enough power we will have enough power to power a major city in our capacity. And this is all in the same direction. And because CO2 emissions and the climate crisis are not a local problem, they're a global problem, we see ourselves as global citizens, and we have been investing more and more money and more time and effort in entering new markets and developing new projects. And today we have projects in multiple countries, from Chile, Poland, Italy, Spain, and of course our home country of Israel. And we're investing millions and millions of dollars to realize a cleaner future. And to add to that, to these many, many renewable energy projects that we're developing around the world that will be connected around 1.8 gigawatts by the end of 2025, there's a new challenge and something that's often overlooked in the climate crisis, which is the looming water crisis. And something very exciting that we are doing in Chile now is called the ENAPAC project, which is a desalination project powered by renewable energies. So I'd like to introduce for the first time here a video about this very exciting and very beneficial project in Chile.
Fresh, clean water is one of the greatest challenges of our time. Along Chile's Pacific coast, a quiet revolution is happening. To conserve its precious water, the country is turning to the sea. In the Caldera province, Aguasol is constructing ENAPAC, an ambitious project that will supply up to 70 million cubic meters of fresh water per year to Andean communities and mines, supporting the local economy and allowing the regeneration of the region's dwindling groundwater. A state-of-the-art desalination plant will generate up to 2,500 liters of water each second. The plant will be sustainably powered by a large solar farm that will also help to reduce the cost of water significantly. A 70-kilometer pipeline will transport water up to a reservoir at an elevation of 700 meters. The reservoir is designed to provide a backup in the event that water production is stopped for any reason. From there, 2 pipelines will diverge north and east, climbing through the mountains. In the first phase, a pipeline will head north up to an elevation of 1,700 meters, covering a distance of 200 kilometers. In Phase 2, the project will reach its full capacity, supplying water to mines as far as 270 kilometers away and 4,000 meters up in the mountains. Mining accounts for over half of Chile's exports. ENAPAC will help Chile sustainably grow its production to meet the increasing global demand for key commodities such as lithium and copper. Developed in collaboration with local partners, the project has received environmental permits and is expected to begin construction in 2024. Aguasol, a subsidiary of Solaer Renewable Energies, develops, builds, and operates sustainable water supply projects powered by renewable energy around the world.
I will just tell you a little bit about this project. So as the Chilean ambassador can tell you, Chile has had a massive issue with drought over the past 10 years, and it's affected, I think, every part of the economy, and especially for Chile, which is very dependent on hydropower, it also affects the energy sector. So smartly, Chile is turning away from groundwater and towards the sea. And for our part, we are investing in developing this project, which will be very soon, constructed very soon, in order to supply the crucial water that actually is a big part of the renewable energy industry, because minerals and metals like copper and lithium are sourced in the mountains in the Atacama Desert. And so we are investing in this project that will cost around $1.5 billion to construct and will be powered by renewable energy in order to provide a sustainable source of water for the communities and the mines in the Atacama Desert. And we hope to create more projects like this in the future, but this is really part of our vision of connecting energy and water, which are two parts of the same equation. So my message to you, to the ambassadors, and to everyone here is that we are open for business. We are entering into new markets all the time. We're investing in projects for the long term, and our goal is to supply low-cost green power and sustainable water at scale. So to this end, we're looking for favorable regulations. We're looking for partnerships with local businesses and local governments in order to really help solve both parts of this climate crisis, the climate change and the looming water crisis that is going to impact all of us in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I think I'll take one of yours. Sorry, but I'm the guys that hate podiums. The global challenge of us, one of the global challenges of the universe today is the global warming. We know greenhouse gases effect and how its effects and what's going to be the future reaction of it. So we compiled today a list of ambassadors and diplomats, not expert in the energy area, to discuss with them about what their countries are doing and what they're doing in order to achieve the 2050 goal of zero emissions. And we have here ambassadors, for example, as the ambassador of Sweden that passed recently a law that they are projecting to reach the zero emission by 2045. Countries like Spain and Peru will reach it by 2050, and they already have the legislation in place. So I will please ask you, dear ambassadors, to present yourself with your own words in the order that you wish. A simple question. What is the current status of the Energy 2050 in your countries, and what are the major success stories that you can tell the audience today? Which one of you would like to start?
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me, inviting us. So my name is Jean-Luc Botson. I'm the ambassador of Belgium. What is the current status? In Belgium, of course, we subscribe to the objective to have a carbon-free economy by 2050. We have a national plan for that. We will have to increase our current objective for 2035 is to have a reduction by 35%. So we'll have to increase to be in accordance with the new EU regulation, which has a target of 55%. You were saying that Israel has 10% of renewable energy. In Belgium, we passed from 6% in 2010 to 12%. So we still have a lot of work to do. How did we do that? First of all, by reducing our energy demand. For instance, in the real estate, so the housing, we have developed passive house that do not need any energy to be cooled or to be heated. And there are subsidies for renovation for the existing houses. We have a system of certificate with the graduation of the energy needs, and it influences the price of a house, the rental possibilities. We encourage people to put a solar panel on their roof or heat pumps. We also have tried to divert it, to go from the use of individual cars to more public transportation and soft transportation means like bicycles and pedestrians. But I think we are not a very sunny country, as you know, so solar energy has its limits, but we are the sixth largest producer of offshore wind energy. So we have developed in the North Sea huge windmills, huge parks, and others are planned. With the idea now it accounts for 10% of electricity production, and we aim to have 30%. So windmill is really a big factor. We work together with our neighbors of the North Sea. And another very important plan that we have adopted a couple of years ago is the national hydrogen plan. We will not produce massively green hydrogen. We will import it. We passed agreement with Oman, with Namibia, and with other countries, with Chile, with Tasmania, with Morocco, but especially Oman and Namibia, to import green hydrogen and to become a hub for transit to neighboring countries. We are, of course, we have very heavily industrialized neighbors like Germany, like the Netherlands, France, the UK, and so where we could re-export this hydrogen. Why? Because we nowadays have an extensive hub of pipelines that serve to transport gas. And you know, hydrogen can be transported in a gas form through pipelines. So we are working on adapting these infrastructures. We also have a big liquid gas terminals in the port of Zeebrugge. And so for hydrogen, it would be imported from the Americas or from Oceania. This would be through ship. So we are working on that. We also, and this is where possible cooperation with Israeli startups would be interesting, to become a major hub in research for new technologies, because there are, when we talk about the use of hydrogen, there are many challenges for producing hydrogen, for transportation, for the use of it. So we will have a test lab that will start being used this year. We intend to have a small electrolyzer facility for testing, and so to develop these technologies. And thirdly, we are working on all the regulations to develop a robust hydrogen market, to transport it, to use it, to have incentive for heavy industry. So I will maybe stop here because I think there are many colleagues who want to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I should like to introduce myself. I'm from Vietnam. The Vietnam, when we say shalom, we say ciao. Right. And we are very fortunate that we are now part of the Latin world, so we can read and communicate very well. But this is a disadvantage for me because it's very challenging for me to pick up Hebrew. And I had a very good opportunity to enjoy Hebrew during the very first session of this very interesting forum. And I should like to thank people, the producers from the Maoist group and also from the Diplomatic Institute for inviting us. And thank you very much, the sponsor, Solaer, for giving us a chance to speak about our countries. And thank you very much, our colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for initiating all this cooperation, because we are now here talking more about cooperation, because whenever we talk and we touch on the current situation, we will look forward to the future on how we can do things together and how we can make things happen. And I heard the word children and future, so I think that children in the future will be very fortunate because we are now spending all our energy and efforts in building a better future and a very beautiful world ready for them when they grow up. And I'm also very kind of delighted to speak after the ambassador of Belgium because Belgian business community are some of the main investors in Vietnam in this sector and supporting a lot the development of Vietnam. As you can see that this year Vietnam joins the club of 100 million people population countries in the world. So we are 10 times larger when it comes to population to compare with Israel. And this is a huge challenge for us to meet the demand, the growing demand of a developing economy in our region and for our leadership as well. So this is a tough task for all of us. As you can see that in this area of energy, we have made great efforts and among Southeast Asian nations, we are now can produce 15% of the total national power system using the renewable energy technologies. And I can provide you with some of the statistics in Southeast Asia that we are 15%. The Philippines, our colleagues here, is producing 10.5% of the renewable energy. And Thailand, Malaysia, they are picking up to and 6% respectively. So this is the picture within our region. And we are now can produce 70,000 megawatt of the thermal power and hydroelectricity. So they account for nearly 30% respectively of the total capacity in the country. And solar power capacity in Vietnam is now around 17,000 megawatt, accounting for 24%. So you can see that the coal-fired, the hydroelectricity and solar energies, we are more or less can catch up in the future. And this will help a lot contributing to the target that we are talking about on zero carbon. And some of the windows for opportunities here should be that by 2045, 2030, the demand for electricity consumption in Vietnam will be 100% to 300% of what we are in need for the moment. So this will open the opportunity for cooperation and companies like Solaer and many other partners can come to do business with us. And we are open for all the opportunities. And please come to us. Knock at the door of the embassy and it is always open. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before you start, dear ambassador, please allow me to give a few words to Mr. Ravel here, as I skipped him in the initial part of the conversation.
Yeah, I was already talking, so I will be very, very brief, just to give you maybe a compliment to what Israel is doing on the energy. Of course, you know very well that we have found in the last 10 years significant gas reserves in the Eastern Mediterranean, in Israel, but also in Egyptian water, in Cyprian waters. Today, Israel is producing about 28 BCM, billion cubic meters of natural gas per year. This is creating significant energy security for Israel, but also is linking us with our neighbors. We provide about 6 BCM of natural gas per year to Egypt, and also significant quantities to Jordan and to the Palestinian Authority. And this is creating, as I said already in my preliminary remarks, a strong bond, a strong cooperation between our countries. It is important, of course, for economic reasons, but also very important for stability and peace in our region. We are working now today on a few projects which are going to connect us physically also with our neighbors. First and foremost is a prosperity project, which you might have heard about. There is a green prosperity and blue prosperity. The green part will be a solar park in Jordan, which will supply electricity for Israeli demand. Since they have larger land capacity, it is easier to be established there. And Israel, in return, will provide Jordan with increasing quantities of water. We already provide very important quantities of water for Jordanian needs, but this will increase even more, about 200 cubic meters more, 1,000 cubic meters more per year, which is going to be very important for the future, since this region is more and more dependent on desalinized water and natural water resources that are becoming scarcer. Looking forward, and this panel is also about decarbonization, about reaching our goal, which is to reach 0% emissions by 2050. This is something that Israel is committed to. And the first target is to reach 30% production of renewable energy by 2030. This is something extremely challenging. Actually, I was listening carefully to the previous panel. It was in Hebrew, but the people were there were talking about the huge planning problems, huge execution problems. This is by no means something that is easy. We have to put all of our efforts to reach this goal of 30% renewables by 2030. This is by creating solar energy, but also working on technology. And Israel is a hub of technology development. We have many companies working on solutions, mostly on storage, agrivoltaic, because Israel has a lot of agricultural farms, and this can be used to produce solar farms as well, but also solutions on energy efficiency, solutions for the industry, water, food. All of the sectors have to transform in order for us to achieve this 0% emission by 2050. So as I said, I want to be brief. This is something that is certainly bringing us together. We're looking forward to working closer with you, with your countries, and cooperating in our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear Ambassador Ravel.
Okay, I'm Ambassador Wal Ariej. I'm the Ambassador of South Sudan to the State of Israel. I would like to say thank the organizers, in particular Gabi, for this opportunity, and also the forum, the Energy Forum of 2050. Of course, as to what is the position of South Sudan in regard to the energy to 2050? Of course, we start with the idea of commitment. First of all, the political leadership of and the people of South Sudan are committed to Paris Agreement, and that's why we rectify since we signed and rectify Paris Agreement since 2016. And second, the political statement of our government, in both covered 226 and 227, depict that South Sudan is committed to the idea of achieving carbon-free 250. How do you do that? Of course, the issue of the climate change in South Sudan, we can actually say it is worse, and we can say 8 out of 10 states in South Sudan are flooded, and over 2 million people are internally displaced and have their livelihood affected. In addition to flooding, drought, excessive heat, heat waves, hazard rain patterns have resulted in crop failures, and this is impacting the livelihood of the people of South Sudan. So we say over 60% of our population are now food insecure, to say the least. So what is the position of South Sudan? We are committed to work hand in hand with all the partners in order to address the issues of environment condition, biodiversity, pollution. Besides, South Sudan has very ambitious second national determined contribution, and it is also a national adaptation plan, a national biodiversity strategy. And we have currently an action plan to develop a cost-effective nature-based solutions to address recurring of droughts, floods, and degradation, deforestation, and crop failures. That affect the biodiversity of the environment in South Sudan. So I'll stop here and I'll make further contribution as we go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Hayek. If I have to take 2 words of what you said, it's running between flooding and drought.
Well, the situation of South Sudan is actually very unique. I mean, some of the challenges, it can rainwater. Some of our problems, actually, we have too much water in some cases. And in fact, we will be looking for investors who can help in order to bring in a system of harvesting water during the rainy season, because this is a problem for our population and for our livestock. So, however, during the dry season, you will also have offset effect that, because we have not saved the water during the rainy season, now there will be less water during the dry season. So we need to be able to have the measure of this, a solution between these two. You save the water during the rain season, then you can use this water to cultivate or do irrigation during the dry or drought system. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much. Another country that is having so many microclimates is Chile, yes. Running from desert to penguins in the south.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ambassador. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this event. I told you before that I'm not an expert, so I hope that later, if we will have any technical question that I'm not able to answer, I will give you my credit, my card, and I will come back to you. I will focus on just on the first question, because I think that there's another questions, and then I will leave this my intervention for the later ones for the other two questions. What I can say for the time being is that Chile is the energy sector in Chile has been largely privatized. Before it was state, but now it's largely privatized. And different government of Chile has been trying to incentivize the participation not only of Chilean private companies, but also of international companies. And that's why we have a big participation of, for example, Endesa from Spain, Enel, Italy, EDF, France, among others. There are around already 36 companies working in the distribution sector, because we divided, according to the law, some years ago, the production with the distribution. And one of the things we have done in order to incentivize this foreign investment in Chile in the energy sector is to have a very clear and solid regulations. I'm happy that before this meeting, I met the people from the responsible for Solaer, and I was happy to be confirmed that they say that Chile has a very solid institution, solid regulations, very clear, but we also have a very clear and very strict environmental regulation that sometimes could create some difficulties, but at the end of the day, I think it's better for our country. And also those regulations are very clear, so the foreign companies, like for example Israeli companies, can sort them out. Yes. In terms of energy generation, Chile before 2016 was dominated by hydro, 33%, carbon, 39%, and gas. After a crisis or a supply crisis we had with Argentina in that year, we realized that we have to diversify, have to be more independent, and since then the wind and solar generation have replaced fossil fuels and reducing emissions in the electricity sector. Nowadays, for example, at the end of the last year, wind and solar energy are the largest sources of electricity generation in Chile, 27%, both, followed by coal-based generation, still 26%, but much less than what we had before. We had 43% in the crisis moment. Electricity is 29%, and gas 18%. So nowadays we have almost 50% of our electricity comes from renewable sources. We are also trying to work to make progress in other technologies. For example, concentrated solar power plant. We have a big one in the north. It's a pity that Milton Friedman is not here, because I have a conversation with him before, and he's not very convinced about this technology, but we will insist on that for the time being, because he said that it was not very efficient. Could be. So I transmit that information to Chile, to our experts in Chile as well. Also, we would like to exploit geothermal energy storage, and green hydrogen that I will refer at the end of my presentation. In terms of consumption, industrial and mining sector represent 38%. A third of energy consumption correspond to the transport sector. Unfortunately, 99% of the energy consumption in transport sector comes from imported fossil fuels. But nowadays we are since 2 years, we have been importing electric buses. We have electric corridors now in the cities. Building is responsible 23%. Since, I think it's important information, since 2017, the increase in electricity demand has been met entirely by wind and solar power, while the demand increased by 8 terawatt hours, if it's correct, between 2017 and 28. Wind and solar energy generation increased 13 terawatts, allowing also a big reduction in emission. So I will let this here for later intervention in the other issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Carvajal. Ambassador Hang promised me 3 hours of speech. So let's start with the first one, okay?
Okay, to be honest, Shalom, Boker Tov, Ana Talmid Levrit, Lo Medaber Shlisha. But I'm trying. To be honest, I actually need to leave in 20 minutes. It's not because Finland is saying something unpleasant, it's because I have another engagement. I used to be the ambassador to Jordan before Israel. And one of the toughest days I had in Jordan was fall day, October 2018. What happened that day was that a school class went on a picnic. 20 kids died of a flash flood. The neighbor of me was the principal of that school. And I tried to imagine myself being a parent what would I feel in a situation preparing the picnic in the morning and never see my kid again? May same year, you had 10 teenagers in Israel hiking around the Dead Sea, and they were also killed by a flash flood. I'm starting there because I'm going to state something obvious. Climate change is here. It is already affecting us. It will affect us all. It's going to affect poor people in poor countries tougher than rich people in rich countries. Remember what my colleague from South Sudan said. We don't have the means there for the moment to prepare for the climate change. Sweden has it. Israel has it. It's going to be challenging. Belgium has it. It's going to be challenging, but we are preparing for climate change as we speak. From my perspective, and I would say also from Sweden, this is, even with the terrible invasion of Ukraine, this is the greatest challenge against humanity today, that's climate change. But being in Israel, crises are something that we can learn from and develop from, and we will find ways of challenging or solving this challenge as well. When it comes to Sweden, we have, as was said, decided that 2045 we should have zero net emissions in Sweden. I should say that we are lucky from the beginning because we already have an energy mix of water energy, hydroelectric, and nuclear that has made it possible the last couple of years to have growth of the economy without more emissions. Besides the nuclear and the water, we are also developing now renewable en masse and trying to see what we can do to also contribute there. It's needed until 2045. The biggest challenge for us is, though, how do we electrify the country? Many of you are working with electricity. We need electric cars. We are trying in Sweden to produce carbon steel without carbon emissions, which will mean that we're going to need to produce so much more electricity. 25 years ago, we said we're going to decrease our dependency on energy and electricity, but we need electricity for the transformation. What we're trying to do in Sweden is to create a framework. It was decided together with almost all political parties in 2017, a framework where politics sends very strong signals to entrepreneurs and the business climate. We have a new climate law, it was mentioned. The government needs every year in their budget to see how are we reaching the climate goals we have. And what the business community in Sweden is saying all the time is that we need, and that's not rocket science, that's the same in all business, but we need to know the rules that are there. And therefore, to have a political agreement on moving is extremely important. We are trying to in some years also, already in 7 years, we're going to try to reduce the emissions from domestic transport with 70%. So we are trying together with Finland and others to be a leader in this area. My final point, if you're an entrepreneur in Israel and are looking at this, what should you look for? Look for our greatest tool, the European Union. European Union is also part of this transformation. The new rules and regulations within the European Union is going to be extremely important for Sweden to solve this, but also for doing business within the sector. The biggest, and you know that the biggest market for Israeli companies are already Europe. But Europe is actually now taking a lead, which is helping us as countries. Because if you're a politician in Sweden or in Finland or in Belgium, you could always blame Brussels. You could say, okay, we're going to have the same business climate as the rest of Europe, and then Europe is the engine for transformation. Even if I started off quite pessimistic and depressing, I'm in a way optimist if we manage to work together. Because the problem with climate change is that none of us can solve it on our own. All of us has to do something. We need the actors from the business society, from the entrepreneurs, from the visionaries to play together with a political system of the right taxation. We know it's good to tax carbon dioxide emissions because if we do that, people can earn money from producing something else. For example, solar, and then I could end up with thanking the sponsor. That was a solar company, because solar, I think, I'm not a scientist, But my simple conclusion is that we live on this earth because we have the sun. Of course, we should be more effective in trying to find ways to take care of that energy that is coming to the earth all the time. And that's one of the smartest things. But we need to do a lot of things together, and we need to work together. Toda rabba.
Thank you very much. Just to take your point regarding the the European Union as our major ally, let me tell you that in other Israeli startup, part of the moving of Israeli startup to be internationalized, we are trying to convince them to place safe landing in Europe, thanks to the European Union subsidies and grants that are being offered in many subjects, not only in energy. And by the way, Platform Madrid is one of our allies in this area. So thank you very much.
Okay. צהריים טובים, שלום, אני שגרירת פינלנד, Kirsikka Lehto-Asikainen, נעים מאוד. It's very nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation to the panel, and it's very easy to continue after Sweden, because Finland takes climate change extremely seriously. We may be a small source of emissions globally, only 0.1%, but we do our utmost to combat this common challenge, and of course together with our partners and in Europe and beyond. And in fact, Finland has the most ambitious carbon neutrality target, because we aim to reach that by 2035 already, so even before Sweden and the European Union partners and Israel. So, and then by 2040 we expect to be carbon negative. So these are very ambitious targets, and it will be possible. We have clear plans and strategies for each and every sector, how to reach that, and also thanks to our forests. We have big carbon sinks. 73% of our land is covered by forests, and then also that nuclear energy is an important part of our energy mix. And we see this not only as a necessity to save our planet together, but as an opportunity for Finnish innovations and businesses, and also in cooperation with perhaps Israeli companies and startups. Our energy companies have been here, Wärtsilä, Fortum, Helen, recently, and have had these interesting discussions with Israeli, hopefully find business here, and also partners from startups. So let's continue that dialogue. But on the Finnish energy situation and the future, the share of the renewable energy in Finland already passed 50% in a few years ago, and we are investing heavily in policy measures to decarbonize all the energy production. The Finnish state is in granting more and more investments to aid the green transition, and we are doing this more than before. Of course, there is the European Union, as Eric mentioned also, that there's a huge recovery package by the European Union to support greener, more digital and resilient future. So phasing out fossil fuels and increasing use of renewables and other clean energy sources is the key for our policies, and we will stop the use of coal by 2029. Then referring to the current situation in Europe and Russia's brutal aggression to Ukraine, Finland was actually the first country to experience the sanctions on energy, as Russia banned exports of wood chips to Finland already last year, early March. So, and at the moment, all the energy flows from Russia to Finland are basically interrupted. But we have been able to replace these from other sources. Of course, the prices may be different, but that's the price to pay for the situation, and we know who to blame, Vladimir Putin. And also, of course, this just underlines further the need for the green transition. In Finland, the natural gas sector went through some major changes, and we decreased our consumption by 50% last year. This actually was only is only 5% of our energy consumption, unlike in many other European countries where the natural gas is a bigger issue. However, we have some projects to replace, and one of them is in cooperation with Estonia. It's an LNG terminal, which is now located in Finland and securing our gas supplies. Another positive development is the wind power production in Finland, it has been increasing constantly. We may not have that much sun, but we have wind instead. And actually the share is about to increase with investments and other measures to almost 30% by the end of this decade. And then regarding nuclear energy, we have maintained that, as I mentioned in the beginning, as an important part of our energy mix. And we have just opened, well, the 5th nuclear power plant in Finland has started to operate and will be soon fully operational. So this is the energy situation now and how the future looks like. I hope to continue on the other elements later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Kala.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I must say that it's not very easy to speak after Sweden and Finland. They are like teacher's pet, you know. We are a troubled kid. Our Kinderstube was a big mess, you know. Because when we talk about the year 1990, actually this is what Kyoto Protocol also sets kind of a starting point. Then we were still a part of Soviet Union. And, well, this was probably the most ineffective, let's say, and polluting economic system modern world has known. And maybe it was good that the starting point was there, because now, 30 years later, I can say that having been 30 years before completely dependent on fossil fuels, and the system was very easy. All the labor was brought in, most of the production was shipped out, and all that was left to Estonia was pollution and social problems. So this was the place where we come from, and where we are now. I mean, 30 years later, 30 plus years later, we have now, let's say, about 40% of our electricity. We produce it from renewables, and we plan to double it 2030. Our aim, of course, is to achieve by 2050 the climate neutrality, as a lot of here in this panel and in EU as well. And we're trying to phase out of fossil fuel-based energy production to 2040. Now, when we talk about renewables, in Estonia, more than 50% of our area is covered with forest. And it's a very nice word, it's greenwashing. And I'm now speaking not as a representative of the government, but I think that when you talk about carbon neutral energy, and you can still, as in Estonia, in my case, use wood or wooden pellets, this is kind of a, I wouldn't say it's a fair game, but this is where we are now. About 50% of our renewables are, let's say, wooden chips and leftovers for forest management. But this is not sustainable. So the question is, what is sustainable? Of course, one possibility is sun energy, but the weather in Estonia, good summer weather in Estonia is like we have today. You hardly see the sun. Also in winter, we have 5 hours when we have not sun, let's say daylight. So let's forget about sun. What we have left is wind. And this is really a future topic for us. Actually, future is happening now. As Samuel mentioned, nothing happens when you are alone. Here we have a, let's say, quite good possibility to work together with our Nordic Baltic partners. And I'm talking about offshore wind. This is a plan still, but we're working on it. And the ideal is to have a joint grid system in the Baltic Sea. The wind can be changeable in the eastern part of the sea, but in the western part there could be wind. The meaning when we are connected, we can buy from each other. So this is one of the things we are working now. Of course, nuclear is another option, but this nuclear energy demands debate in the society. I'm not very optimistic about the result of the debate in Estonia, but we'll see. We keep it as an option. But what I really wanted to say is that one thing is what are the plans, but how we execute them is another thing, and here we must change the mindset. And not only the mindset of the leaders or politicians, but all the population. Is the society ready? Because we're talking about revolution. We're talking about something we haven't seen before. And here, I think, in Estonia, we have kind of advantage, because in a single, let's say, in the past 30 years, one generation is 30 years, we have had two kind of massive transitions. One was that I started my intervention about. This was the transition from planned Soviet economy to market economy. This was a huge thing, actually. I was a kid that time, but when I hear what the older generation is saying, this was the world collapsed. They had started from scratch. And the other transformation or transition Estonians have had was digital transition, meaning that we managed to take our public sector 100% digital based. We did it with the EID and digital signature. It's a long story, of course, but there's a connection also. It's a technological thing. There's a connection also with the next transition we're looking at. So I think we as society is ready for another transition. We have had this before, and we have seen from our past that those kind of transitions, they create huge opportunities. They will reshape your economy, and they will give you your edge also in the worldwide. So I will stop here, and let's go to another round.
Thank you very much. I guess that because of the time delay, I'm getting vibes from the outside that they're waiting us to finish in order to continue with the events. So if anyone of you would like to give some closing remarks or the ideas that he left from the first part, I think you, Ambassador Carvajal, had wanted to say something about the second part of it, the part of the challenges.
Yeah, no, yes, about the challenges. Well, I wanted to refer about our contribution as a country to a carbon-free universe, although we are only responsible for 0.3% of the global emission. And what I want to say is that Chile has been working very hard in order to modify its energy matrix, seeking for greater efficiencies and energy generation and consumption. Our target is for 2050 to have 100% emission-free electricity grid. And we are, well, maybe I wanted to go into details about our contribution within the framework of the United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change. Chile was the first Latin American country to submit its updated national determined contribution, and one of the first countries in the world to do so. It is in 4 pillars: mitigation, adaptation, integration, and for the first time, and this is very important for us, a social pillar. That's also part of our policy. This social pillar permeates the other one with a focus on the impact of the lives of people in our territory. And this is a factor that also contributes to when we evaluate projects, energy projects in Chile. And the last part is I wanted to make some reference to we are betting a lot in green hydrogen. Chile has and derivatives, we have a national strategy since 2020 and a plan of action from 2023 to 30. I think Chile has a unique opportunity to develop a competitive green hydrogen industry from electricity produced from low-cost renewable resources. For example, in Chile, northern Chile has the highest solar radiation of the planet. I have the figures, but I will not give it. Solar energy in the central zone is more competitive than fossil fuel, and the winds of the far south blow with the same energy onshore and offshore. That gives also a lot of opportunity. We are not working alone in this. We have signed several memorandum of understanding or agreement with some of the main actors in green hydrogens, particularly in the areas of transportation and logistic and production in our country. For example, our main partners of interest are Singapore, Japan, United States, Belgium, as the ambassador of Belgium mentioned that, South Korea, Australia, Germany, the Netherlands, and France. Why? Because of the degree of development that they have achieved, and in terms of production, consumption, and technology, but also of the political influence we believe that they will have in terms of the discussion on certification and international standards that we want to fulfill, and also in that case to be competitive. We also have some bilateral funds for this with the European Union. So last year there was a call for proposal for co-founding investment studies to accelerate decision-making to materialize investment in green energy in Chile. There are already 8 projects awarded by $5.5 billion. One of the challenges, as I mentioned before, is to reconcile the interest in green hydrogen production investment with the new and stricter environmental standards we have in order to fulfill with international agreements or procedures. So there were our development cooperation make an international tender last year in order for different companies, international companies, to build electrolyzers and related components in different parts of Chile, but up to now, very few has approved the environmental assessment service. So this is a balance that we have to take into account. And also, Chile wants to participate more in IRENA and UNIDO. This is it. I think that we have a big potential in hydrogen, and I know that we have found yesterday, coincidentally, I visited a company here, Extralit, that they are producing a new method in order to, for example, to extract, to be more efficient in, for example, the extraction of lithium, because it's another thing that we are very interested in. Yeah, so I think with there is a lot of opportunities for Israeli companies to invest or to work in Chile in the hydrogen and in solar and wind. This is it.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I would. Yes, I would like please to let Mr. Milan from Spain to share his vision. He didn't speak in the first round, as you understand. Humbly, he's saying because he's the only non-ambassador in the room, but you took the power seat, so you have a full domain.
Shalom lekulam, everyone. My name is Antonio. I'm the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Embassy of Spain, and I like to extend my appreciation to our organizers here, without whom we will not be here, and our sponsors. Let me just briefly lead you on a journey where we are, where we find ourselves today, and where we want to be in the near future. And it is for us all very easy to understand that 2022 has been a bang year, major upheavals in the world's energy markets, and prices at both electricity and natural resources have skyrocketed. This, together with the pressing need to come to terms with the challenges posed by climate change and the agreements made in the course of the last few years have pushed Spain to bring about a major major overhaul of its legal framework based under the umbrella of the Climate and Energy Transition Act, which is the major legal instrument. We have developed a series of measures that will allow us to compete more than favorably with the challenges posed by climate change and the need to switch into renewables. Spain stands today as the 8th country in the world in terms of installed capacity for renewables, second only in Europe, and a massive whopping 47% of our energy needs come from renewable energies. That alone, together with a favorable mix of energy, plus the fact that we have an extensive network of gas and electricity, together with the fact that of 7 out of the regasification plants of the European Union can be found in the Iberian Peninsula, 6 in Spain, and a massive drive to increase renewable energy input has allowed us to weather the inclement winds that we've had since 2022 in a far better fashion than expected. And all I can say to you is that where we want to be in the future is short term during the rotating presidency of the European Council. Starting on July the 1st, Spain wants to bank on the 2019 EU Green Deal and the 2023 strategy for clean energy industry. And that allows for and calls for a massive technological and financial effort to bring about a major roll-up in renewable sources of energy, increase awareness, and bring about major changes in demand side patterns, and a massive effort in decarbonization of the economy. And that is basically where we stand today and what we want to achieve short, medium, and long term. Gabby.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ambassador.
Yes, thank you very much. I asked for the last minute because what I'm trying to share with you is just a follow-up of our European Union friends is talking about here. As you may know that since COP26, we have made a lot of commitments and follow up from that. We join a lot of initiatives to reach to the zero carbon commitment. And I would like to share with you that this is the great announcement of all the partners of Vietnam's, and it's deemed that cooperation, international cooperation, plays a very important role in our journey to zero carbon emission in Vietnam, which is started on the 14th of December last year, 2022. Along with G7 countries and international partners, we approved the political declaration on establishing the Just Energy Transition Partnership, GEPT. And this will support Vietnam in both terms of finance and technologies, as DCM of the Spain Embassy here, Antonio Milan, has mentioned to you. And among all these goals set for this kind of partnership, I would like to mention one of the most important points to us is that this partnership will help mobilize an initial amount of at least $15.5 billion in the next 3 to 5 years, including 7.7 billion raised by the partners of the initiative. from public finance and with attractive terms for that. And everything can be raised in the market. And all the partners will work with the government of Vietnam and the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero Emissions to further mobilize and promote another half of it, 7.7 billion in private financing. So it means that banks in Israel and banks in other countries around the world, including European Union countries, can join hands with us in financing all these projects in Vietnam. And I'm sure that apart from the multilateral frameworks and bilateral frameworks, I would like to recommend a kind of trilateral or tripartite cooperation between Israel, Vietnam, and the partners in other countries in the European Union and other part of the world, saying that there will be projects in Vietnam aiming at zero carbon emission, using the Israeli technology and solutions and financing around the world. So we can do that, and it will help Vietnam a lot. And this is what I would like to mention to you, because it will open up opportunities for cooperation. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Ambassador. Usually we're saying ladies first, but I would let the only lady here, Ambassador Kirsikka Lehto, to end this nice conversation with your ending words, please.
Thank you very much. I would like to just mention briefly two very interesting topics for the theme, where Finland is being very active today. And one is circular economy. Finland published the circular economy roadmap as the world's first country already in 2016. And this is the question of smart use of resources, which we have to think about much more and even more in the future. And Finland is actually organizing a world-leading circular economy event, World Circular Economy Forum in Helsinki in this May and June. So if you are interested in that theme, you are most welcome to Helsinki. And another topic is hydrogen. I think that's something that we see as the most significant driver of industrial change in Finland today, and also also globally. So that is an area where we also should be working together, and Finland has created a strategy on that, and we aim to produce at least 10% of the EU's emission-free hydrogen by 2030. So and that's probably an area which is of interest for Israel as well. So let's see if we find some opportunities there. Thanks a lot for the panel. Thank you, audience, for your patience.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Yak, you want the last minute, please.
1 minute, okay. Okay, what I want to say is to wrap up two things. One is how can South Sudan contribute to carbon-free universe? We say, in fact, that since 99% of the population of South Sudan depends on forests for energy, we are actually saying there has to be transition from energy to clean and renewable energy, and alleviate the pressure on forests. Now, South Sudan intends to generate 3,000 megawatts of power from hydro, solar, winds, and natural gas. And on this regard, we actually would like to invite any companies that are interested in order to invest in solar system in order to bring clean energy to the climate. Finally, what would South Sudan want to be, what do we need? In fact, there has been a pledge of financial support for 100 billion. We are saying, in fact, this contribution is insufficient, and we need that to be increased from upwards. And therefore, we would want to say the pollution of South Sudan, or the emission, are very negligent, basically, are very minimal. And we would want to invite the industrialized countries in order to make more contribution towards correcting the climate change that is contributed because of industrialization. I want to end here by saying we in South Sudan are also affected by target sanction. We are trying to make sure that the speech in South Sudan, but we are being target sanctioned, and the government is not able to control the environment, the countryside, because of the idea of, you know, we are not able to provide law and order in the countryside because we've just come out from the war and all the population are armed, and you need to disarm all this in order to protect the forests and nature. So we would actually want, it is about time that the international community support South Sudan in order to implement peace and we protect the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all of you, dear ambassadors and Deputy Chief of Mission, for your participation, as well for the other diplomats that are here in the audience. The other diplomats are also welcome here to join us. We're going to take a joint picture. Thank you very much.